One.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 6th edition of The Wrap. Today we've got quite a big show with a lot of different stories, some happy stories, some sad stories, some beta males, some cultural commentary coming as a separate podcast afterwards. For those who haven't watched The Wrap or listened to The Wrap before, we bring you the news. There's no fake news here, no mainstream fake politicians. This is a real deal here. So we got Alex on my left. How you going, mate?
I'm going great guns. Kurtz's new album's just dropped, so as you can imagine, I'm happier than a kid in a candy store at the minute. Andos was just playing it then, and what are our reactions?
Look, we listened to one song, let's be fair. We can't give a full comment on the album, but
It goes hard.
as you can tell by my stank facial expressions, it was pretty filthy.
It was a slapper. It was a slapper. I'm going well. Going great guns. Excited about the wrap today. A lot to talk through. There's going to be some controversial stuff, I have a feeling, but
We'll see how it goes.
we're going to suck it and see.
We like to get this show started off with jumping to conclusions.
Yeah, I haven't really prepared one.
Jumping to conclusions.
Yeah.
So where we jump to a conclusion, then we take the most interesting one, and at the end we discuss it. So you'll have to wait and see which one we flesh out. Andos, what's your jumping to conclusions for this week?
Mine for this week is that it should be socially acceptable to wear UGG boots in all non-formal occasions, especially in winter.
Especially in winter.
I mean, yeah, especially in winter.
Naturally.
Yeah, of course. Of course. There's not many people wearing UGG boots in summer, but if you were to do so, I think it should be socially acceptable to do it
So
in
you'd
most
say it's
situations.
not socially acceptable now?
I'd say if anywhere you go except like up to the shops, I think that's your limit on social acceptance. Like even if I strolled down to Para Westfield, I think if I was going through there in Uggs, you'd get some weird looks.
I've seen it done. In
Yeah, of course you see it done.
I've seen it done.
You get a lot of the yoga pants and Uggs. I've seen that combo before.
No, you don't get yoga pants. You get tracksuit pants and Uggs. Yoga pants are normally runners or thongs.
Yeah.
But
you get the trackies. It's not
trackies.
as tight.
A lot of time you get the full Adidas. The three
stripes.
stripe with the leaf thing. Canadian maple
Okay.
leaves.
Alex, have you got a conclusion?
I don't, but I'm going to flick one on the fly here.
See this?
Okay.
Go on.
I'm not gonna say it.
Well, you're the one who always complains about how long the shows go for, and you're happy to jump in already.
Whatever.
Do
you go. You go with yours.
Yeah,
Okay, my conclusion is that we should take the Australian capital out of Canberra, put it in Sydney, and have the Australian Parliamet House in Penrith.
He's listened to Kurtz's album and now he thinks he's a Westie.
That's what I think we should do.
Okay. Mine is electric vehicles are the biggest scam going around.
The biggest.
I'm going to say
Biggest?
I'm going to say,
Bigger than pyramid schemes?
I think they are bigger than pyramid schemes.
Wow.
It's a huge call.
It's a huge call. It's a dodgy premise, but I'm
I
happy.
think it's ridiculous.
Whatever.
Who should we give it to?
Yours was pretty
Look,
interesting.
the thing is...
It's a toss-up, I think,
thing is-
between our two. Yours was hot trash this week.
I think the thing is, do we want to actually have this segment to have any importance, or do we want it just to be for this week us trying to make Alex defend electric cars being the biggest scam?
I think it's just your personal dislike of Elon Musk.
I like Elon Musk. I'm an Elon Musk fan. I just think he's a little bit of a pretender. That's all.
Is he?
Yeah.
He's a fake ass rapper.
I think he's absolutely awesome.
But I'm not a rapper.
If Elon Musk said, "I just want to make electric cars that are cool," that's it. But it's this whole climate change backing, which I don't back.
So you hate how he stands up for something he believes in, is what it sounds like.
Well, Andos, you can take that to a pretty ridiculous extent, can't you?
Okay.
Okay.
We'll get to that
later
in the show.
I think my conclusion's probably the best.
I think we give it to Dougal.
I'm happy
As
to
usual,
do.
my conclusion is the
It's
best.
the first time you've given a half decent one.
Now, the first story for this week is the domestic story, for those who are familiar with the wrap. And we're going to do the New South Wales election. Most of our viewers are in Sydney. There is a splattering of individual ones around the world from my international friends. Some in Ukraine, some in Kenya, some in China.
Wow, you're really cultured, aren't you, Dougal?
I'm Mr. Worldwide.
You've spent some time
Mr.
abroad,
Worldwide.
Mr. 305.
He's found himself abroad.
And so we're going to do the New South Wales election for those people who are thinking about it. It's when is it? That's the first question.
It's fairly soon.
The
posters are coming up. The billboards are coming up, and you're only allowed to do that a certain amount of months beforehand. It might be like even 6 weeks before.
Well, when I was I should have really prepared.
It's the 23rd of March.
23rd of March. So that's next week.
Saturday.
Next weekend. So we've got these are the betting odds. You have the Coalition, so that's the Liberal National Party, on Sportsbet $1.78 as of today.
Mm-hmm.
Labor $2.05, and then the next best is at $100. So it's between those two.
Yep.
Coalition are the favourites, but
Slim.
It could. They're well within the margin of
error,
contestability.
Yeah.
As far as we can tell, there are 3 big issues.
Mm-hmm.
The first one being kind of festivals, nightlife, drug policy.
Yep.
The second being building stadiums.
Yeah.
The third being climate change.
Yeah.
As far as we can tell on the nightlife drugs thing, Liberals want to be kind of tougher on drugs. They want more police at the festivals. They want to kind of crack down on drugs, kind of a continuation of the war on drugs, or maybe an escalation even. Then Labor is kind of standing for more liberal drug policies. So in terms of what they actually want to do on that, Premier Gladys Berejiklian promised on Sunday to introduce court-issued orders that would allow police to search the homes, vehicles and the bodies of people without warrants. The system would be tested in 4 police command zones for 2 years and could only be used against people convicted of a serious drug offence in the previous 10 years.
Okay.
What do you think about that? I'm not a fan of that at all. I don't think you can just start searching people without warrants.
No, I agree. There's obviously the fundamental question. It speaks to a more broad and almost theoretical question about the role of the police within the state and what are the rights of citizens that should not be infringed upon, even in times of, say, even times of emergency. You say, well, what are the incontestable rights that each citizen, by virtue of the fact that they are a citizen, is entitled to? Now, searching the right to your own body is absolutely a fundamental one, and it's a fundamental in terms of the state, because the idea that the police are now going to be able to kind of rough you up and intimidate you, even with the caveat, kind of the idea that you've done a serious drug. The whole purpose of a sentence is that once you've done that sentence, you're kind of
you've done your time.
You've done your time. You've paid your dues, right? And it shouldn't be the case where you paid your dues and then all of a sudden it's like, well,
it's a big target on your back.
You get a big target on your back by police. Now, obviously, there is a high recidivism rate, and there's a lot of people would say that people, when they go to jail, when they get convicted, they actually come out more radical and more hardened than when they came in, because you're surrounded by thugs and tough guys. But that being said, yeah, I don't like it. I think it's more police state. It's more less liberty, less freedom. On a purely theoretical role of the state, role of the police, it's a thumbs down from me.
So what Gladys said was, this is a request put to us by the New South Wales Police Force. Let's see how the pilot works, is what she said. Police Minister Troy Grant said that the policy was primarily aimed at the trade in crystal methamphetamine and also heroin in some coastal areas of northern New South Wales.
Yeah.
Andy, anything to add on that question?
Yeah, look, Gladys definitely has made herself, I think, a target, especially to the youth. And I don't think this policy does her any favours in regard to election promises.
To winning young votes.
I think even, like, rightly or wrongly, whether she deserves it or not, she's sort of painted herself as the old lady who is really
the get off my lawn lady.
The get off my lawn, no trick or treating at this house type of lady. and I don't think this helps her really. But that's, as well as the fact that I just don't agree with it as well. Like Alex said, for people's rights to their own body and bodily autonomy. So, not a fan of this one.
The Labor Party said, in an extension of the drug policy debate, the Labor Party said it would consider allowing official pill testing at music festivals, which would allow individuals to find out if their ecstasy tablets are dangerous, and it will hold a summit to discuss the problem. What do you think?
I've already, I think, was it with you, Andos?
I think we probably have a lot of people, new listeners.
Sure. We had a chat about this. I've got a couple of objections to the pill testing. The first of which is my key take is, well, if you take this to its logical conclusion, and we're happy for people to take what were illegal and illicit substances in public areas, then it should just be legal, full stop. It shouldn't just be within kind of the confines of a specific area, if we're happy for that to take place. Now, number two, I would also say that I don't think it's going to be particularly effective anyway. It doesn't really address the problem. Primarily because the pill testing isn't going to be, it's not going to be accurate.
Why not?
It usually
because to get a pill accurately tested, it takes a couple of days in a lab. You can't bring that on site with any degree of accuracy. And not only that, most of the time...
You're seriously going to say that?
Sure.
That the actual pill testing
of
doesn't
course, most of the...
I'm happy. It doesn't work to the degree where it's anywhere kind of efficient. And most of the time, it's not actually... it's people's natural reactions, their own physical, their kind of genetic predispositions. Like most of the time when people overdose or have stuff happen to their body, it's like they haven't been drinking enough water, they've spent too long outside.
In the sun.
Like you can't control all of these variables. Now, if your argument is, well, they're going to do it anyway, let's make it safer. That's the best argument.
That's what the argument is.
Yeah. A bit of tone. I just don't think it solves that problem in the first place.
Well, it would definitely contribute. Like even if you say it's not as effective as it's being advertised, even if it helps, a bit, that's still better than.
Okay.
It's the compromise.
Well, I'm playing devil's advocate. I don't have a particular
but
position.
what I would also say is, a lot of the time it's a quantity thing, it's a dosage thing as well. So they say, well, one pill is reasonably safe, but if you take it in large amounts, then it could be a different story.
As well as I disagree. I think the characterisation of festivals is quite naive for people who are pro pill testing, in that if you're already super inebriated, whether it be off alcohol or an illicit substance like ecstasy or MDMA or anything like that, and you get offered more of it, or something where you think it's probably safe, then you're probably not going to go to the pill testing. Like especially if you've got like a good position in the mosh or something like that. I think the characterisation where people are always going to take these pills which they got off someone to the pill testing is very naive.
Okay, but wouldn't you say that? See, the problem with these arguments, as far as I can see, is that you're just saying it will be less effective than it's being advertised. And the question is actually whether or not you think the goal is good and worth pursuing. Because just saying it's not as effective as it's advertised, well, even if it's 50% as effective as it's advertised, that's still 50% in a either right or wrong direction. So it's really about, is it in the right or wrong direction, not is it going to be 100% effective?
Yeah, but also that trade-off, you have to account for like the compromise that we are taking by saying this is...
Well, so that's the argument you want to make then?
Well, I mean, it's within that, in that like... We as a society, whether right or wrong, have said that people shouldn't take these substances, and now we're saying, because like of so and so, we think in this specific instance we should allow this, and by that compromise, it does set a dangerous precedent. And if you want to like advertise the effectiveness of it as like the way it is, it has been advertised, whether it be like fully effective, really, really safe, reduce drug deaths at music festivals and stuff like that. I think we actually need to be honest about what the outcomes are going to be, rather than just like painting a world which is idealistic.
Sure, but let's say like one life is saved because of a pill you don't take a pill. that's been cut up with something bad, surely that makes it worth it.
But what
even
about
if you only have one?
Okay, but what I would also say is, what if it also takes lives as well? There is absolutely the risk that if the machine is ineffective or inefficient, but it comes back and it says it's safe, when in reality it's not, and it was just a question of dosage, and the person goes, okay, well sweet, I'm going to take a whole bunch now over a time frame where I may not have done it before. We say, well, there is a serious cost and trade-off for something that it is ineffective.
And then is it the government that's liable? Is it the corporation who is doing the pill testing? Is it the person themselves who did the test? Who at that point is liable for?
Because the problem you have is that they'll say, well, you sign something, you say, well, I'm personally responsible for whatever happens, right? And that sounds great in theory, but if someone dies after getting a pill that was marked safe, irrespective of all the other factors which I've mentioned, hydration, genetic predispositions, whatever, there's going to be a pretty big stink. There's going to be a big kick up regardless. And we can all say, well, they're responsible for their own bodies. It's massive blood on the government's hands, even if it's marked safe.
My natural reaction is to just legalise all the drugs. I think that would make it a lot better, easier, safer. But we're going to try and keep the wrap relatively tight and compact today, so that might be an argument for another day.
No, I agree with you, but that's what I said about the logical conclusion, is that you just legalise the whole thing.
Yeah.
But that's not what the people who are advocating for pill testing, so far as I can see, have been arguing for.
Oh, well, sure, because you can't have that conversation today. You can't have the legalise all the drugs conversation today. You might be able to have a pill testing conversation today.
So you just shouldn't have the conversation?
No, so it's about them taking it's about them taking kind of the fruit that's immediately available to them.
So it's pretty much, are you saying it's like advocating for this slope to eventually come?
Sure, well I'm saying if you probably want to advocate, if you want to have pill testing, you probably also, you naturally want to have safe drug consumption, right? And so that would occur best in I just think that's what a lot of the people will want, and that's kind of what I want. I feel like we should talk about
climate walkout.
Well,
not yet.
Not yet.
Stadiums.
The former federal police commissioner Mick Palmer said he was, quote, quietly infuriated by the government's plan and that drug use is a reality we can't prevent. So that's a criticism of Gladys. And also on Sunday, Labor leader Michael Daly said the party would open 6 drug detoxification clinics in New South Wales aimed at young methamphetamine addicts. Any reactions?
My gut reaction is, I don't feel like it is. This is probably one of the best arguments for legalisation, is that let people do what they want, we can regulate it. There'd be some kind of clarity in terms of the causes and effects, right? Mm-hmm. My problem is that when we, like, they want to open up 6 drug detoxification clinics, and it's like, that's taxpayer money. Mm-hmm. Going, and I don't know how effective these things are, or if it's just going to make it people kind of less skeptical about the effects of drugs. I don't know. I just, I'm not sold on it.
Do you know?
I don't know. Don't know. So I'm not going to act like I know.
We don't know. We really don't know what we're doing most of the time. I would say I'd probably support it, in the sense that if you're looking at the costs of either having the drug addicts out on the street or drug addicts in a detoxification clinic, we're probably all better off. Like, you'd say, well, I don't want my taxpayer money going towards it. You're probably safer if those guys are in the rehabilitation clinic instead of on the street.
Yeah, I can see that. Look, I'm fairly open to it if it is effective, and it's like where there's actually some kind of give back. There's actually some kind of return. Then I'm open to it. I'm not hard and fast, but it's again, this is just they're all arguments for they're all libertarian arguments, really.
Yeah, Okay, we'll do stadiums quickly.
Yeah.
The kind of argument is...
So we're talking about a specific stadium.
We're talking about like Western Sydney Stadium. Is there any other stadium?
No. The stadium thing is the SFS.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. It's a SFS. They've already started pulling it down. This is the whole big debacle.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You run us through it then.
The whole debacle was that so Gladys has decided that she was going to knock down and rebuild the SFS. Right, It had an estimated cost originally. It was like $3.5 billion, and now it's gone down to 700 mil. There was a whole bunch of objections from the Labor side, and they were saying that the stadium seems to be reasonably operational. It's not any totally necessary, and kind of like impending issue. This money could be spent better. She didn't really wait. She just went ahead and started ripping seats out. And then so these seats, like there is the big seats issue, and the seats issue is that there's the seats in the SFS were like highly flammable or something like that. And she was like, yeah, well, it's a safety issue. But then these seats actually got flogged to rural like rugby clubs. These rural rugby clubs were like, yeah, we want the seats 100%, like, and we'll take them at a cheap price, because a lot of the time, like, you need seats at a rural rugby club. And then the Labor guys were like, well, if they're unsafe, why are you flogging and flammable? Why are you sending them out to the bush? Anyway, so despite all this heat, Gladys has been saying, well, it's an investment in the future. It's infrastructure, brings all this money, lots and lots of jobs. It's going to be between $40,000 to $50,000. It'd be cheaper to knock it down and rebuild than to refurnish it.
Right.
And so then Labor's slogan coming out of it has been like schools and hospitals, not Sydney sports stadiums or something like that. And so the problem as well is that on the board of the executive directors of the SFS is a bunch of notable right wingers, including your boy Alan Jones, right? And so Michael Daly came out and said on Alan Jones's 2GB radio show, if we are elected, we are going to sack you guys. The whole board's got to go for this type of rubbish. You're going. So that's kind of where Michael Daly stands. That's my estimation of the stadium issue. I don't know if there was another one that
you could say that's the wrap of the stadium issue. Very well done.
You could say that if you wanted to. Don't know why you'd want to.
Just a little bit of irony. We like to have fun here.
I think it's a pretty convincing argument from Labor, particularly to like rural New South Wales, who derive no benefit from a Sydney stadium.
No direct benefit.
Well, what other benefit do they get?
The cash you get from it.
But I'm saying you don't get any cash.
But if you're saying if you're saying that they might be able to reduce taxes or something like that.
What do you mean?
If you're getting enough, if you get an influx of tourism and cash,
why would you get an influx of tourism and cash from building a new stadium?
Because it brings sports events, celebrities who are like doing tours and music and all that type of stuff.
And you'd hope that if some of that money was going to the government, then they would invest it somewhat in rural issues.
Well,
that's what I said.
I think that's a stretch.
Well, I said indirect.
Yeah, but I'm saying like it's definitely a stretch in terms of like the benefit they would get if that 700 mil or several billion was put in something else. It's like the opportunity cost is big.
Sure, but even you could say that about, like, let's just say there was someone spent 100 million on a school. If you're not going to that school, it's not. So then I don't know if that's the best possible argument.
Maybe. I'm a bit dusty today, I have to admit.
You're also a little bit snippy.
A little bit snippy.
You have been a bit snippy so far.
I may have been. Still recovering a little bit from a big one yesterday, but
Andos and Dougal actually ended up at the same party. Andos got a bed in a house. Dougal managed to sleep in the car.
It was actually my second night in a row sleeping in the car, because I slept in it on Friday as well. I went out for dinner with a good friend of mine, Justin Penner. He'll be listening to this.
I have seen Justin come. He's a great man.
He's a good guy. Anyway, we ended up having dinner. We then had a drive and listened to a Jordan Peterson podcast, and we went back and had a cup of tea with his parents. So anyway, it's about 10:30. I'm about 300 metres up the road. I'm 300 metres up the road having a cup of tea. At the time when Mum tells Andy, I'm going to be coming home tonight, leave out a set of keys.
She said, Dougal might be coming home tonight, can you leave out a set of keys? And I said yes. To be fair, I should have done it and I forgot about it. I had a big night, lost at debating, was pretty sad at that.
At 12:30, I come home, no keys out, no way to get in. Mum's had a big day. Andy and Fiona both not answering their phone. I'm not going to knock on the door and bang on it and wake up Mother Dearest, so I just had to sleep in my car.
Why didn't you knock on the door? Mum's a light sleeper.
I just didn't want to interrupt her sleep.
That's ridiculous, because if you walk around the bottom of the house, she knows about it.
Yeah, okay. me and Dudes have been having some late night giggles. We're just having the kitchen, just calling each other whatnot and complaining about NBA and 2K. And then you hear Mum go from upstairs, can you boys turn it down, please? Okay. I'm trying to sleep.
Okay. Anything else to say on the stadiums?
Nothing that you're not going to be snippy or sceptical about. So,
okay. Now, do we want to do climate change and the climate change walkout?
Just quickly.
Let's hustle through it. Alex, you love a bit of climate change discussion.
I'm the big climate skeptic, and I was actually reading up on the three most venomous and powerful arguments. They are just single words against climate change, and they are hide the decline. And I would encourage everyone at home to type it up and look it up. Hide the decline. It is absolutely the most pivotal piece of information, which may tell you that there is something deeper and bigger afoot here than just a little bit of greenhouse gas. My thing is, I'm not super fussed if kids want to walk out and it's something that they really get behind. My impression is that it's not really the kids who are pushing this, and the kids are kind of being pushed out as the voice and the united front when they're just being fed information and kind of getting whipped up into a frenzy. I would be interested to see what the media reaction would be, say, if it was a pro-life rally that the kids were getting behind.
Well, it wouldn't be covered because they do have the March for Life every year in Washington, and it never gets covered unless you have a native Indian bang the drum against the Covington kids.
In your face, and we'll talk about that later, but I would say it wouldn't get covered, number one, and number two, it would be labelled as kind of this radical Christian, far-right ideological immersion program for kids. So, look, I'm protesting, but I don't like the idea that these kids are being used for something deeper afoot, which is exactly my big scepticism.
I doubt they would. I think most kids who are there would probably genuinely believe in climate change.
I'm sure they genuinely believe it, but I'm saying they're getting brainwashed.
My take from it, especially from seeing the amount of Snapchat, Instagram stories from the event, especially from people who you wouldn't expect to be like very politically inclined, is that really like the narrative, like the way people have wanted climate change to be presented to them has been like completely swallowed up. And like I'd say if you had someone like Stephen Crowder or like Lewis Spears or other people, or like Flecker's talks there asking people like, what do you think of climate change, like, and why, then I think most of the kids would crumble under like why they think climate change is that bad, or like where they think they've gotten it, or like where they think it's from. So like I really don't see, I have an issue with it in that kids who aren't really invested in it and kids who don't really know about it just essentially getting a day off school.
Can you go and fix the camera, please? Yeah, look, I get it. I think most of those kids would just be trusting the UN climate things, and we can have a discussion about why we might not like that, but I feel like they'd probably get it from the UN, so the problem's really with the UN, I guess.
I don't think it's with the UN.
The Climate Council and like the Paris Agreement and stuff.
Yeah. I think they're a big driving force, but I think it's also, they're getting it from the media, which is just perpetuating this kind of anti-capitalist, anti-human narrative where it's just pretty much the white people are destroying the environment. But like you said, they're all recording on their iPhones. The construction of an iPhone is not great for the environment. They're all getting there by cars, a lot of them. Their parents are driving around in SUVs. I don't think it's going to do anything well. It's like, what are they going to do? Like, if we have to cut emissions that drastically because it's an existential crisis, Like, there are going to be sacrifices that are got to be made, and the kids aren't. I don't think the kids are aware of them.
Okay. Andy, anything to say?
No, I think I've said my piece. Not very effectively, but...
We're going to move on to the international story.
Could be the least effective rap we're going to do.
What do you mean the least effective?
Most rusty, least effective.
Most rusty, least effective rap. Yeah, I'm not really on the ball, but we're trying to be consistent. I'm happy to cede the hosting responsibilities to Alex if you want to do it.
I'm happy to take it. I've noticed just your tone's been a little bit
sure.
aggressive.
Why don't you take us through the because this is a story that does require delicacy to handle, and I might not be in the best position to do that at this point.
Okay.
These are two
So,
different stories.
I can
Why don't
start
you
off this story because I'm the one who researched it. This is the international story, but it does have an Australian connection, which is the Christchurch mosque shooting / Fraser Anning response. Now, this has been all over the media recently, so I assume you kind of have a general idea of what happened last week, which was the single biggest terror attack in Australasia. I think in the history of Australasia, equal in number of victims to the Orlando nightclub shooting in 2016. It's a profoundly sad event. There's not a lot to say except we're sorry to the families. We feel we grieve with you. And then it's a politically motivated attack. The guy was a far-right terrorist who was, as far as we understand, echoing the delusions of the Norwegian far-right terrorist Anders Breivik. The apparent killer's motives are twofold. One, to kill as many, quote, invaders as possible. And number two, to promulgate a white nationalist ideology. These motives essentially emerge from the conspiracist basis of his, quote, replacement theory, which asserts that Muslim invaders are repopulating at a faster rate than the, quote, native white population, and thus will eventually expand to replace whites and must be stopped at any cost. So first thing to say is that this man was an evil man, and the second thing I would say is that his ideology, as well as being evil, is wrong. And the reason why I think it's wrong is that the real alternative right, like the Richard Spencers, the National Policy Institute in America, not your Jordan Petersons or your Milo Yiannopoulos or whoever else, have their ideas essentially tied to race and skin colour. And the reason why I don't think that's true is because I think ideas can be separate to people and are separate to people, and people have the freedom to choose their ideas. They're not born with them, and they take them for life. So what this means, as far as I can tell, is that if you want to conserve a country's culture, the way to do that is to sell the ideas to the people and not to put restrictions on which coloured or kind of people are in the country. Like, it's not tied to skin colour. And the role is to preserve the ideas rather than the people of a certain skin colour.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, I don't have much to say about the story, and I don't want to say much about the story. It is a profoundly sad tragedy. I mean, the guy is clearly an evil guy. And I mean, it wasn't, from what we can see, it looks like it had been thought out well in advance. It wasn't an impulsive kind of break from a normal life. He obviously, if you read some of the manifesto and what he'd said, he said he'd been planning it for something like 2 years. There is, of course, as there is. Well, I'm not going to bring sides into it, but there is, of course, a fraction of the right towards the absolute extremes of the right, which is racist, tyrannical, authoritarian, evil in nature, and which should absolutely be resisted and fought against. Absolutely, there's no question. And he belongs to that. These kind of ethno-nationalists, because the thing is, if you take the position that race and ideas are inexorably intertwined, and there's no possible separation, then the progression from which you go after that becomes more and more radical, and it also becomes more and more extreme. And so the starting point is actually really dangerous, because the starting point is the means by which it manifests and grows and becomes something dangerous.
Yeah, the only thing I would add is that I would say, me personally, and probably Alex and Andy, I would guess, wouldn't necessarily put ourselves on a spectrum of left to right. We'd put ourselves more on a spectrum of individualist versus collective. And so what that means is that if you change into the individualist versus collective spectrum, it means that kind of far right and far left are brothers, not opposites.
Yeah.
Big government, collectivism, authoritarianism are brothers, not opposites. Yeah. And the solution is to treat people as individuals, not as part of a group identity. And what I think is a good solution for most problems, kind of including the ideology behind this terrorist attack, is to be treating people having a worldview based on an individual rather than a racial or a group perspective. That would mean that you think every individual life is valuable, and that's not affected kind of by these things you can't choose, like skin color or whatever. And the life is actually not made kind of more or less, even maybe by the ideas, but yeah, like I just think you have to say every life is valuable and you don't judge people based on skin color. And that means you want to step away from identity politics on the right, and you want to step away from identity politics on the left. I think we don't want to be having like white identities and black identities, and kind of Asian identities. We can have identities first and foremost as individual people, and your kind of skin color or your race should be like the 10th most defining thing about you, or like somewhere way down the line that's not the core essence of your person. Jacinta Ardern has promised to do gun reform, to take the guns. We've done a gun segment before. We're generally pro-gun, and it's always hard to talk about guns in the wake of a shooting. So we'll probably leave this one here. I feel like it might just not be the best time to talk about it.
Okay. There is, yeah.
Fair enough.
I would also, then we're going to extend the story to Fraser Anning. So Fraser Anning had a response which was widely condemned. I would condemn it. I thought it was bad. I thought it was dumb and stupid, and there were some parts of it which I would also say were evil. While his response firstly said he condemns all violence, he then goes on to say the real cause of bloodshed on New Zealand streets today is the immigration program which allowed Muslim fanatics to migrate to New Zealand in the first place. And so while I am pro the idea of having a talk about Muslim not Muslim, mass immigration, we can't attribute a mass shooting which could have not happened, which was perpetrated by an individual. We can't say that that was caused by Islam. That was caused by one person. That's what I would say.
Yes, and it's an unbelievably long bow to say that an attack on Muslims was caused by Islam. There is absolutely room for a reasonable conversation about migration. There is always, I think, reasonable room to have a conversation about multiculturalism in terms of what that actually entails. But Fraser Anning has done absolutely irreparable, in my estimation, damage to his cause. And it is going to be unbelievably difficult for him to raise any valid points in the future. And he's also made it unbelievably difficult for anyone who has any legitimate concerns about migration to come forth without being simultaneously associated with those remarks. Fraser Anning has, in my estimation, I don't think it's a fait accompli, but he has dealt a catastrophic blow to his own cause. He's shown a total lack of situational awareness. He has shown a very ugly and dangerous side to his own personality and to his supporters. But if we were to say sunlight is the best disinfectant, as people have often said, and I think it's difficult for me to say this, but I think it is much better that Fraser Anning has said this and that we know what he is really like than had he harboured this view and been dissenting it and disseminating it quietly and in a more radical format than this.
Yeah, no, I think that's pretty fine. I think that's true. I would agree. Now, I think it was yesterday, there was the kid who cracked an egg over Fraser Anning. He's become a bit of a cultural sensation. He was then, there was a little scuffle with Fraser before the kid was tackled by a few of Fraser's supporters, put in a pretty strong headlock, as far as we could tell from the video. That kid, as of before we started this podcast, has crowdfunded over $26,000 for future legal fees. And I think he won't have a problem paying for whatever legal fees he has.
My understanding is that all charges have been dropped anyway, so I'm not exactly... unless he is going to prosecute Fraser, but charges against him by the Victorian police...
really?
Yeah, were dropped.
Okay.
Walked out without charge.
Okay.
It would be bad
I definitely
publicity.
understand why Fraser copped an egg, and I definitely understand why a lot of people are supporting the kid. I'm kind of neither here nor there. It's kind of funny to do it to a politician, but also it shouldn't really be a thing that we do to other people, to break eggs on them because we don't like them.
I don't like it, to be honest, because the thing about it is often these situations where there's... Because if you say, for example, in particular circumstances, under certain conditions, it's okay to perform an act which would otherwise not be okay. The problem then you have is, well, who's going to be able to define what situations are okay to do it and the extent to which you can apply force or something that otherwise would not be okay. If you take it to its logical conclusion, there's pretty much nothing that you couldn't do if there was a situation extreme enough. That being said, obviously you don't want to get into the metaphysics of someone getting egged, and I don't particularly think it's good practice. He was 13, did something stupid, whatever. Bear in mind, Julia Gillard got egged a bunch of times as well.
Who was it? George Bush got a shoe thrown at him.
Reagan got shot at. So,
that Japanese Prime Minister, the communist, or the Prime Minister, your candidate, got a samurai sword blow to the body, which killed him.
But also, like, you look in Mexico. Mexico, there's been hundreds of public officials that have been shot over the past couple of years. And that's like, obviously, I don't want to link the two and suggest that once people start getting egged, that now we're going to end up like Mexico. But you would also say that we should treat the way in which the public approaches public officials and people who are supposed to be acting in the best interests of society in a reasonably careful way, is what I would say. Yeah, it was kind of funny. Did the kid maybe deserve a slap? Probably, if you would say. Fair's fair. Like, as far as I'm concerned, you egg the guy, it's game on.
Yeah.
Like, you better be prepared.
Good to see. I wasn't neither here nor there on Fraser getting stuck in. Also, in the same way, I quite liked when Bolt got two thugs came and tried to initiated a fight with Andrew Bolt on the street. Bolt threw a couple as well.
The thing, I think, I don't want to paint a broad picture of what it's like, but there is a kind of a thing going around where it's like it's okay to harass like conservatives and like people on the right, and every now and then someone on the right is going to throw one back, and it's like it's a big story, like it's just it's what is going on, because they're often the ones who are supposed to be conservative, and then every now and then they just snap. Don't be surprised if you go up to a Conservative politician and you give him some lip, he gives you some back, if not something extra.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to do it to the Trump Meister. Have you seen that? He's got a powerful arm, I think.
I saw that video of the flex.
Arm. Yeah.
In fairness, I guarantee you that guy's been in scraps. 100%. And I want
to see him in a scrap with Joe Biden.
He would take that boy to
Joe
the cleaners.
Biden would go down hard and fast, crying all the way, is what Trump would say.
Now, I don't want to be throw around innuendo or defamatory allegations, but there is Joe Biden creepy compilations on YouTube. Creepy Joe. If you want to see something weird, I would say have a look at Joe Biden in the way that he hangs around people's children. That'll freak you out.
Right.
Yeah, he touches them all inappropriate ways. People's daughters that come in, like other congressmen and senators, like he's super handsy. Your boy Joe's got some skeletons in the closet, I guarantee it. That's why I reckon, he's done by the deep state. He's totally compromised.
Right.
100%. Anyways.
Okay, next story after that character assassination is Iran
on YouTube.
Being appointed to the UN Women's Rights Council. Now, we all know that Iran is a bastion of gender justice under the Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei.
Bastion might be our favourite word on the podcast.
It's definitely my favourite word.
Now,
I use it way too much, especially not in the right context.
What we would say is this is a kind of I told you so moment for Donald Trump. Now, we might remember that a few months ago, Donald Trump pulled the United States from the UN Human Rights Council because the UN Human Rights Council and UN branches like the Women's Rights Council do a lot of dumb stuff. Yeah. This appointment comes just in the wake of a prominent female Iranian lawyer who defended women who had been arrested for protesting Iran's mandatory headscarf law. So there's a female lawyer defending the people who were arrested, the chicks who were arrested protesting the compulsory headscarf law. She's just been dealt a total of 38 years in prison and 148 lashes. Yeah. Right, so that's who we got on the Human Rights Council. You might wonder, this is an example of the UN, it's a bit of a racket. Wouldn't be surprised if Iran had made a significant donation to the Clinton Foundation. And this is kind of I don't know what to say about it. It's just dumb. The Women's Rights Council is the opposite of the Women's Rights Council. It should be called the Women's Oppressors Council. And any sane country should withdraw from it upon Iran's entering into it.
Any sane country should have withdrawn when Saudi Arabia got a gig. Now, a favourite of the podcast, Gavin McInnes, if you go on Joe Rogan, Gavin McInnes talks about Iran. And he makes the point, if you look at Iran in the 70s, the women were doctors, lawyers, out smoking cigarettes, driving cars, in singlets, no bras, pretty much the most liberated female population in the Middle East, in that area. and you go 40 years ahead, and it is like getting in a time machine and going to a different planet. The women shuffle around, not really talking, extremely quiet, head to toe gear. And then we've got the UN Women's Rights Council going, yeah, I think we should give it to Iran. That is...
Stitch up.
It's not it's effed up. It's really effed up. And I mean, that in itself is enough for me to want to, I'm not a big fan of the UN. I don't know if you are, Dukes.
Not really.
I don't think there's a lot of good stuff that comes out of the UN. I think there's a lot of hogwash, a lot of hot air, a lot of expansion of the state type policies. So, yeah, UN can go to buggery. Massive beta male of the week nomination, I would say, to the UN.
I think Fraser Anning gets one as well.
Fraser Anning gets a big one.
He gets a big one.
But just an idiot award as well.
Yeah, not just being a beta.
Low IQ.
Low IQ.
Low IQ individual.
Low IQ individual.
Speaking of, I just might cut in because our favourite beta male, Jussie Smollett.
Does this guy have a permanent position on the front sheet?
This guy's going to be... I want to get a real trophy, and we'll get Jussie Smollett's head.
I want a bust. I want a bust.
The Jussie Smollett beta male of the week. Because he's beta male of the galaxy.
Yeah.
You know
so
what he could do?
He has to get... So the award has to be in his name.
So
they have like the on Top Gear, they have like for the celebrity laps around the
they got the leaderboard.
The leaderboard. We could have all-time leaderboards of beta males.
We can score them.
We could score, of course, Jussie Smollett. He's
100.
He's got the statue at the top.
Yeah.
But then down under, you've got the inaugural runner-ups of beta males of the universe.
Yeah.
Fraser Anning would get a good gig.
Daniel Radcliffe. Anyways,
Peter.
So according to the Wrap, which
we can do maybe the Steve Irwin Award. That can be our shout-outs award.
Yeah. Now, there's also a different show/website called The Wrap. According to The Wrap, I think it follows like the ratings of TV shows and stuff like that. It's more of a TV entertainment guide type of situation. The Empire fell a whole 29% in viewers from a comparable episode last year. So,
good work, Jussie.
You've ruined the career of yourself and your homeboys. Beta male.
And also, I think we should mention the fact that the cast tried to organise a card.
Yeah,
they tried to organise
Jussie.
a card to send to Jussie, like a "You're in our thoughts" card, and the crew were just literally just told him pretty much to F off.
Yeah.
Like, because when the ratings fall when the ratings fall 29%, the crew feel it as well.
Yeah.
Like,
they feel it even harder, I'd say.
Yeah.
They do.
Because they're more contract work. The cast is more they're extended.
You can go audition for new things. You can do this and that. Your crew and your show drops that drastically.
Yeah. Cool. What's next?
Sandman lawsuit.
Oh, I love this. So anyway, do you want to do it?
No.
You don't want to do it?
You do it.
I don't have a lot of it in front of me. But
you researched it.
Oh, I love this, but
Recess.
no, I don't want to do it.
No, I want to do it. So Nick Sandman was one of the premier Covington Catholic students that if you followed the story, Covington Catholic kids as part of March for Our Lives went and attended the rally. Now, CNN, Washington Post, and
probably Huffington Post.
So pretty much most of the left-wing media outlets, because a lot of these Covington boys were wearing Make America Great Again hats, their aim was to try and paint these kids already as right-wing, racist, xenophobes, basically, and also anti-abortion, so anti-women, so misogynistic. So, but what happened was, whilst they were at the rally, there's a group called the Black Hebrew Israelites, which is essentially an ethno-nationalist radical group full of black people who are yelling disgusting things at these kids. Anyways, in the midst of all this, what's his name? Nathan Phillips?
I think it's Nick Sandman.
No, Nathan Phillips, whatever his name is.
The native Indian dude.
So there's this guy who comes up to Nick Sandman, who was just standing there. The Covington boys are standing at one side, and the Black Hebrew Israelites are on the other side. Now, Nick Sandman's just standing there. He's in front of the Covington boys, and Nathan Phillips comes up and starts banging a drum in his face.
Now he was in Indian drums.
He was one native Indian drums, and he was in his full native Indian gear as well. So I don't know what the
good optics, photo optics.
It was great optics, and so Nick Salmon standing there. He's how old do you reckon? He's 17.
He's
something
13.
He's younger. Okay, he's probably I think he's definitely a minor.
Yeah.
Anyway, he's standing there, and Nathan Phillips is beating this drum in his face, and Nathan Phillips, Nick Salmon's just standing there with a smile on his face,
with a smirk.
With a smirk. Okay, and so this is the shot that CNN, Washington Post, all these guys use to pretty much just say that he's smug, he's got his half smile, he's got a Make America Great Again hat, he's got all his boys behind him, there's a Native American there banging the drum, and what they were trying to portray is if Nick Salmon had come up to the Native American and was just getting in his face. Now, so they originally reported this, and all the reactions from all the major news outlets were, this is what's happening to the youth. Donald Trump has radicalised these kids. They're turning into misogynistic, racist, anti-women's rights type operators. Now, then what happens is, so they run all this stuff. They pretty much, this kid got put on the headline of every single outlet, top of the show.
All the Twitter threads.
So then what happened was all these celebrities and everyone else decided to jump on board and slam these kids. Now, a lot of them, they tried to dox them as well.
Who's the Kathy? Who's the redheaded?
Kathy Newman.
Kathy Griffin. Kathy Griffin. Yeah, she tried to get the kids' information.
There were people who were saying these kids just need to be punched.
Reza
Aslan. There was a couple of CNN commentators were jumping in saying these kids are deplorable, like this type of stuff. Anyway, it turns out that what happened was Nathan Phillips had come up to him.
Probably a few people were literally shaking.
Right now, RN.
Literally shaking.
Shaking RN. So then what actually happened was that these kids were just standing there. They were getting absolutely berated by these black Hebrew Israelites. Nathan Phillips comes flying up, starts beating his drum in the face. Now, so all the allegations that these news media outlets had made was that Nick Salmon had turned up racist and being aggressive towards this Native American. And
no due diligence done.
No due diligence, right? And so they've totally ruined this kid's reputation. And now the video comes out
that shows 2-hour video
that it wasn't actually the case.
Yeah,
and
it's
so
the opposite.
So Nick Salmon has gone, okay, well, you know what? Kind of over this.
Yeah. Good.
We're going to slap CNN with a lawsuit worth $275 million.
Big time.
Big time.
16-year-old. That's how it is.
16-year-old. I don't know if you pay tax on that, but if it goes through. Now, what's more than likely is that it won't end up being $260 million if it gets through at all. I think he definitely has a legitimate case, considering the media did not conduct any due diligence. I think this is a case of the good guy
against the deep state.
Against the deep state, maybe getting a bit of justice.
Yeah.
And this is often the case with these things, is that this is why I think it's important that you should always pause a little bit just to see if there's more data available. Because often in these first knee-jerk reactions, it's almost always too good to be true. You see it with Jussie Smollett, you see it with the Covington case, particularly when there's people who are alleged to be Make America Great Again people, there's almost always more information to the story. So I'd say to all the liberals and to all the people who are out to get the MAGA guys, be careful when you're putting together this type of stuff, because it can bite you in the ass.
And then all the news media, they didn't come out with like a big apology. You either get like zero apology or like a page 6 2-sentence retraction.
Yeah. Just that we'd like to make a couple edits.
And it's just totally fake news.
So he's suing CNN for $275. He's suing Washington Post for $250 million.
Go get him, bro. Go get him.
Go secure the bag.
Go get this bread.
Go get it, bruv. And you know what? I was saying to Dukes before, this may end up being the best thing that ever happened to Nick Salmon, because he's going to be portrayed as a little bit of a hero.
And he's a bit of a celebrity.
He is a bit of a celebrity. He's got one of the most iconic mugs going around. Now, also, bear in mind that this Nathan Phillips guy, this American Indian, stolen valor. He claimed he was a Vietnam veteran. He wasn't. He didn't serve in the Marine Corps.
Can you do the camera?
This guy is an all-time pretender.
Yeah,
he's an all-time pretender.
He's fake news.
He's literally fake news, and just don't believe everything you see on TV. That's what I would say.
Good. I reckon if you get like, let's say it goes through, just one of them goes through, and he gets 300 mil. That would be, if you just invested that in equities, let's say you're getting like 3 or 4%. What's that for like a yearly income? That's got to be like close to 10 mil.
Well, the rule in general is if you get a 10% return, you double your money every 7 years. So
Do you reckon you'll get a 10% return though?
no, it's almost most hedge funds don't get 10%, but that's the kind of rule. So if he wanted to live off the interest, let's just say even if it was 1%, and he got 300 mil. That's
3 mil.
3 million bucks
If
a
you
year.
get 4%, that's
If he invested with, say, Bridgewater Associates and Ray Dalio, hedge fund manager, one of their funds got, I think it was 14.9% last year, which it was one of the best performing hedge funds. A lot of them haven't performed well recently, particularly the quants. That's by the by.
by the way.
Oh, you say that every single
Moving
episode.
swiftly on.
Moving swiftly on. Go get that bread, Sandman.
Go get it. And take him to the cleaners.
Take him. Get the kitchen sink out of CNN. Get the toaster. Get the windows.
Get the broom.
Get the Nespresso machine out of there.
Get the pods as well.
Get all the soy products.
Take the batteries out of the remotes. And I reckon just burn the place down. Hopefully something will rise out of it that's better, like a phoenix, but I imagine it's just more deep state tentacles.
With no one inside. We don't want to burn them down with people inside.
But again, you just see this massive overreaction. Same with the Jussie Smollett. It's like these guys are just... Wake up.
Wake up.
You're only hurting yourselves.
Go get him. The Sandman's here to take your lunch money.
It's the classic Spider-Man villain who's now turned into the hero.
Okay, Alex, do you want to do... bring us through the US college admissions scandal that happened earlier this week.
Okay. Basically, what has unravelled, and which I don't think anyone is really surprised about, is that there are a bunch of wealthy parents and individuals, actresses, famous actresses, hedge fund managers, wealth management professionals, all these type of operators had been engaging in almost like a pay-for-play scheme, a whole bunch of bribes to get their kids into top colleges.
Taking a leaf out of Clinton book.
So this is a bit of Clinton action, and this is... speaking of Suing, I might as well just throw this in as well. So obviously you can imagine a lot of people are pissed off because they say, well, my kid may not have had the fair crack that he deserved, or she, because these parents were paying. So this woman, a teacher from Oakland, California, is suing Felicity Huffman and Lori Loughlin for $500 billion.
Are you sure you got that right?
Yes, it's a B, claiming.
It's ambitious.
It's ambitious, but it's worth a ping. So these are two of the actresses.
Does anyone have $500 billion? I don't think anyone in the world.
It's like Austin Powers. You know when Austin Powers now?
1 million.
1 million. Jillian. Okay, so claiming that...
Trillion.
So what she's doing, the Oakland, California as well, so you can like Marshawn Lynch's type of crew, claiming that their college bribery prevented her son from gaining admission to his preferred colleges. So according to a report from The Hill, Jennifer K. Toy, an Oakland teacher, has filed a $500 billion lawsuit against Tori Loughlin over their alleged role in the college bribery scandal. So Loughlin and Huffman allegedly worked with William Rick Singer to fraudulently gain admission for their children into top universities. Now this guy he's the kingpin.
He's a smooth operator.
So what he would do was he would take massive amounts of money.
Secure the bag.
He would secure the bag, and then he would fraudulently engage with the universities to say that these people were often elite athletes, so that their admissions score test would be lower. What they often did as well, several cases of him organising people to take the tests, like the SATs for these kids, going to off-site facilities.
Yeah. He would also bribe some of the people at the schools. I'm pretty sure he gave the women's soccer team coach $400,000 to admit this kid on a soccer scholarship who didn't even play soccer.
It's worse than that. So what he would often do as well is he would have to set up a profile for these kids. He would Photoshop the faces of these actors and actresses' kids, the faces onto like professional athletes' bodies and create a profile for them so that they came under the bracket of elite athlete. So there were 4 basic methods that Singer used to get children from wealthy families into schools. The first 2 just involved bribes. So he would bribe entrance exam administrators to allow a third party to facilitate cheating on college. So he would bribe the person who was supposed to be administrating. He'd bring someone else in. They'd take the test for... Yeah. Yes. So it was pretty... Look, it's pretty funny. I don't think it's particularly surprising. I think most people are like...
To get into those Ivy League schools.
Yeah, because they are really competitive to get into.
Yeah.
I'm not justifying it, but they are difficult.
They're hard to get into.
It's a $500 billion education. Is what we can safely say.
What are the odds? What are they... Can you run us through this?
Look, it literally only just came up, and I think it's a by the by. I think everyone's saying 500 billion.
Shock value.
It's a bit ridiculous, but it is literally shock value.
I mean, aim high.
Good, aim high. Reach for the stars and reach the trees.
Reach for the stars, and if you fall, the clouds will catch up.
And you might get between the rocks to the sand at the bottom.
See, there's about 2 people
you might
watching.
even land yourself in an Ivy League school, fall from the sky. Inside the school grounds, you might find yourself.
What the earth is going on?
All right, what do we got next? Because we're moving actually reasonably.
Well, we're over an hour.
The Boeing Planes.
Now we're going to do Boeing Planes.
I think you got to do it.
Do you want to do it?
You already know we had to do it to them.
I don't know. I haven't researched it.
Neither have I. Do you know about the Boeing plane? Andy, you haven't done any stories today yet.
Okay.
Do you know about the Boeing planes?
Not particularly, but I'll give it a crack.
Do you want me to give my initial understanding of it?
You give your initial understanding,
I'll look it up.
and then if something comes up or something like that, I'll continue.
My understanding is only quite small, but I think it's a reasonably
How
compact story.
about I go, and then if
As
it's
usual,
wrong,
our understanding is quite small.
We want to caveat this whole podcast with the fact that we have no idea what we're doing.
I'll start. I'll come in strong. You bring it home.
See, I thought we were doing bad cop.
No.
So when you went hard, I thought I had to go even harder.
What are you doing? So my understanding is that there was a plane crash of one of these Boeing planes.
Is that the Kenya to Ethiopia one or Ethiopia to Kenya?
I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing.
We don't know.
And these Boeing planes there'd been an order for a bunch of them to come to Australia and for Australian...
Virgin was bringing in 40.
Yeah. So a bunch of these planes were supposed to be used, and then after this plane crash, which still I think is being investigated, they all got sent back.
I think
and
there
they're not
might have
being
been
used
more
anymore.
than one crash.
Yeah, there's been 2 crashes, and this is
the same plane.
Yeah, it's the same plane, but it's 2 different airlines. So the reason why it's a little bit iffy because it looks like the circumstances of the crash are quite similar. Pilot lost control. This is trigger warning. My understanding is that lost control. He went up, down, kind of oscillated a bit. Then he went up, and they ascended really fast for whatever reason.
Right.
And then they just lost control, and it's just a free fall.
Yeah.
That's so scary.
It's
so
enough to make you not want to fly. But that being said, I think it's still statistically the safest way to travel. But so the Boeing 737 MAX jets automatic stabilizers could have played a role in both crashes. That's what it looks like, and that the equipment's just malfunctioned. The stabilizers have gone haywire, and
it might be something that they just weren't built properly.
So they're saying the similarities between the Boeing 737 MAX 8 jet that crashed in Ethiopia last weekend, killing 157 people, and the fatal Lion Air crash in Indonesia in October keep growing. So what happens is, obviously, Virgin, all these airlines, they don't make their own planes. They get them from Boeing, or they get it from Airbus or wherever. So Virgin Airlines, Australian Virgin, has bought 40 of this exact plane. So it's saying that according to a New York Times report, investigators at the crash site of the Ethiopian Airlines flight found evidence that suggests that the plane stabilizers were tilted upward. So I guess that causes it to... And then it just cuts out because it gets to a certain altitude. I don't know exactly what happens, but I know that
definitely not plane mechanics.
We're not plane mechanics, but I would say
it would not help the flight.
Stabilizers are important, I would imagine.
Yes. Maybe you could also say that now would be a good time to buy shares in Boeing. I assume they would have probably gone down a lot.
Now, I don't want to delve into conspiracy theories.
Do you think that's a conspiracy theory?
Didn't realise we had Eddie Bravo across the desk.
No, I'm not going to comment on that one. That one's, yeah. That one's
by the by.
That's by the by. That's neither here nor
Out of
there.
bounds.
That's a little bit out of it. I think, yeah, it's too soon. Wait for more information.
Too soon. Wait for more information.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you for being with us. We're going to take a quick break and then come back and do the sports and culture report. Tell us what you think. We'd love to hear the comments and engage with you guys in the little CHP community we got going so far. We've had some good feedback. And if you have negative feedback, we also want to hear it because it's usually pretty fun.
Yeah, so people keep sliding into my DMs and telling me how annoying it is to have one camera angle. Because that happens quite frequently, actually.
Why have you never brought this up?
Because we know that the issue's there. We just haven't addressed
Okay,
it.
well, we'll have a brief intermission and a production meeting.
Yeah, we're going to have a serious
back.
production meeting, and we're also going to talk about withholding viewer feedback and information. So,
okay, well, thanks for being with us. We promise next week I'll try and be a bit more animated. But we've got to get the content done.
now we're going to do jumping to conclusions at the end of the next one.
We are doing jumping to
No,
conclusions.
we're just doing that now.
Yeah, we'll do jumping to conclusions now. Good point.
Gee whiz.
Jumping to conclusions. What you have to understand about
Just
about
restate,
Canberra.
restate.
So my conclusion is that we should move the capital to Sydney, and we should put the Parliamet House in Penrith. And as well as just rolling off the tongue nicely, the benefits of this program would be immense. What you have to understand about Canberra and the Parliament being in Canberra, essentially a city that is totally built on the government. Initially, it was Melbourne and Sydney fighting for who would be the capital at Federation, and they couldn't decide, so they decided to choose a place that was in the middle. Now, that was quite a small town, as far as I understand it, when it was chosen, and then you put a big government in there. So literally, almost everyone who lives there, unless you own, the cafe in the Parliament House, is on public payroll.
Even AIS.
Even AIS.
There's what's that place? Questacon.
You got Questacon there.
Questacon's crap now.
But what you have to
That's my next
understand,
conclusion.
what you have to understand about it is that when you have a city in which the only thing it has is the government, it's like living on a spaceship. Everyone is off in the clouds with their own ideas about how society works, but none of them are paying any tax. So what we should do...
Do government employees not pay tax?
Oh, well, they might pay tax, but it's going back into their income anyway. So it's
They're
like
paying tax
they're
themselves.
invested in the tax.
It's a pyramid scheme.
It's a pyramid scheme.
Government is a pyramid scheme.
So
That could be enough.
what you should do is move it out of Canberra, because first of all, it's pretty inconvenient having it in Canberra. It should be either in Sydney or Melbourne. I just would prefer, I hate to do it to you, Sydney, but someone's got to take these people. You put it in Penrith, so they actually have to be surrounded by real people. They have to understand the policies that they implement.
Implications.
They also should understand what the policy implications are on people who aren't, in the top income brackets. They should be around real Australian people putting in a hard day's yakka.
I would say I would go further than you.
So you would agree with the conclusion?
I would actually probably agree with the conclusion. I think it's actually based pretty reasonably in logic. I would move it to the Tanami Desert in the middle of Australia, and what I would say is, the only power that you can generate is that which you can generate renewably. I say if you guys want everyone else to get to zero net emissions and not feel the pinch, you guys should lead the charge. So you guys are going to do zero net emissions in 2020.
Right.
As soon as we get you there, we'll get you. Some people will throw some solar panels in. I guarantee you. If you said, Pauline Hanson and the Greens are going to have to live off renewable energy, and they have to live there as well. I would say they have to live there.
I don't think Pauline Hanson says that.
Pauline Hanson I think is pretty pro-coal anyway. But I'm just saying, if people said,
Tanya Plibersek.
well, but if they also said that, we think Pauline should rough it a bit, which a lot of people probably do, then if you had to live off 100% renewables, you can see what it's like. Move to the Tanami Desert. It's hot. and then you can feel the pinch.
Then
That's what I would say.
we can film it. And it can
You
be
also
like,
feel
I'm
cold in the winter. It does
Yeah.
get pretty cold at
Yeah.
night time.
You get the best of both worlds. You get it really hot during the day, and then you get really
Freezing
cold at
cold.
night.
It can be a...
You get about 1 hour of nice weather during the day, half an hour in the morning, half an hour at night.
Yeah.
In the nice in between Goldilocks zones.
Be I'm a politician, get me out of here. And then you can
Who
also
would it be
have...
hosted by? Because I don't want it to be the
Julia
Fiona-
Morris.
Is it
Why don't,
Julia Morris?
why don't we have just CHP hosting it? We get our own. We can have
We
our
can
coal power.
and
whatever.
bunk beds. We can have bunk beds.
We can have a little slumber party during season, and then we can get us just an array of reality TV shows out of these politicians. We can
Watch
have,
Married at First Sight.
Keeping up with One Nation.
Taking up with
so
the
you
nation.
think you can dance political style?
You're being ridiculous, Andy.
But the question would then arise: well, what do you do with Canberra as it stands now? I think there's some pretty cool stuff
What-
you could do with
what
government,
I
like
would
the
say-
Parliament House.
Well, this is part
Make it a
of. This is
frat
actually
house.
what I was thinking about before. I would turn Canberra into a special economic zone that pays 0% personal income tax and
Yeah.
0% business tax, and
Yeah.
just use it as an experiment and see what happens.
No, I agree. That's one of the reasons why you'd almost be tempted to buy an island, for example, if you could turn it yourself into an actual de jure government, one that's recognised by other states. I think this is what Botswana did. Botswana did a very similar thing, and I think it was Hong Kong did a very similar thing as well when they were trying to kickstart. They said, if you come here, you're going to pay very, very little tax. Obviously, Hong Kong had a bigger population, but you could almost turn Canberra into like the Vatican within Italy. Like,
Yeah, well, if you say to big businesses, come and put your headquarters in Canberra because you're not going to pay any tax on it, I guarantee you, you'd be seeing skyscrapers go up, the next day.
and you know what? The bureaucrats, they would hate that as well because
They would
they
hate
love tax.
Yeah.
The people in Canberra have never seen a tax they didn't like. The only question they said is, how much more can we stick them for? Gillian the reptilian is a big fan of tax.
Loves
On
tax.
420 grand a year. Disgusting amounts of money.
Despicable.
That's $8 grand a week.
Despicable.
That is despicable.
That's over $1,000 a day.
Just,
And you don't work on weekends.
That's
And
true.
They probably get a lot of public holidays and sick days, so you'd think they'd be working probably 4 days a week.
Oh, but think about all the expenses as well, all the lunches. All the lunches you'd have to do as the head of the Human Rights Commission.
A lot
Just
of-
all the lunches with the High Court judges and
A lot
celebrities.
of brunches as well,
A
I
lot of
reckon.
brunches.
A lot of avocado.
I can't do lunch, but I can do brunch. Can we make it 11?
she's getting this bread. That's what she's doing.
She's getting the bread, but it's
She's-
not hers.
She's getting
She's
this,
stealing it.
This stolen, smashed avo.
The nacho cheese.
No,
Disgusting. I wonder if it tastes better when you didn't pay for it.
Yes, there is no such thing as a self-paid lunch in
You
Canberra.
can imagine though that they would have like additional topics in Canberra, which is like
Soy. A lot of
no,
soy.
but like the real deep state conspiracy theory stuff.
The
like,
deep state food.
Like what's that? The chemical androgen or something like that. What's it called?
I don't know.
The adrenochrome.
Adrenochrome. I never
Yeah.
heard of it.
It's basically. This is Alex Jones. This is deep state stuff. Basically,
It's turning the frogs gay.
no, this is worse. This is worse. That I'll get it up. It's a chemical that you produce in times of heightened fear, like the most serious fear, and that they've actually been able to isolate it from people.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's apparently
Well,
it's.
I think they would probably be feeding it to everyone except the people in Canberra. You'd think the Canberra people wouldn't be eating it because they'd know about it. They're woke.
this
They
weight
do
level is off the
Over
scales.
9,000.
Basically, they get it from kids. Yeah, this is.
Are we going to do this now?
I would just say to everyone, go look at adrenochrome. That's what I would say. That's the better
How
way.
do you spell it?
Adrenochrome. So ADRENOCHROME. Adrenochrome.
You've turned into an Eddie Bravo, Alex Jones hybrid in which you say your conspiracies with
Can I tell you that?
you
Like,
gotta do your own research about it.
yeah, but that Joe Rogan, Alex Jones conspiracy, like when he just went through everything,
Yeah.
right? A lot of it, like you're kind of following with him.
Yeah.
Like
He does make some good points.
he makes some good, and like when he talks about the stuff and he goes, go look it up, and you look it up, and it's exactly what he said.
Yeah.
And when he's done stuff where he's uncovered shit like this before.
And he's dropping the F-bomb right as we finish.
Bohemian Grove.
No, the Bohemian Grove's a bit iffy, but the thing that he did with the anyway, we're going to wrap this up. This is going to be way too much dribbles.
I'm happy to do a separate show called
Conspiracy Theories. Well, tell us if you'd like it. I don't know if anyone's still listening.
Dude, that is a cash cow. Conspiracy Theory podcast. That is a license to print money.
Okay. All right. Well, we can look into that. Andy, you can take up that range.
Because the government likes the ones about aliens. They love the one about aliens because it discredits the other ones, which are actually true.
Right.
Have you seen the
like Alex Jones says that they love the ones about the aliens coming from like outer space because the beings are actually operating on an interdimensional level and not actually like a physical, they visit us from different dimensions, but they don't actually come down from like they're not coming down in a flying saucer, but they love the flying saucer conspiracies because it totally looks like it debunks all the other stuff that shows us talking about. So it's pretty funny.
Have you guys seen the presidential alerts memes where it's just like George Bush is just like oi Donald, oi. No, it's good. It's like, oi Donald, do you know where Bigfoot put my phone? I think I left it in Area 52. And then Trump's like said something, and then Barack's like, boys, this ain't the group chat. It's a presidential alerts.
Well, look it up if you found that to be a good taste. You can go and look it up. We're gonna say goodbye. We're going to come back and do a sports culture report.
I'm keen to do more conspiracy theory stuff.
I reckon do a conspiracy theory series. That's a mouthful to say, isn't it?
That's dribble.
But I mean, you can lower the bar. Like there's stuff like the minimum wage. Like if you say that we should get rid of the minimum wage, people say that's a conspiracy theory. We could do aliens as episode 1 and minimum wage as episode 2. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll see you guys later. Tell us what you think. It's been good having you. Tell us what you think about moving the capital to Penrith.
Also, I want to hear if people thought Dukes was a little bit moody and a little bit slippy at the beginning of the podcast.
Probably was.
Alrighty. Catch you later.
Thanks for being with us.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Au revoir.